Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Christopher's going to be teaching you how to play Waltz of the Flowers. But before we talk about this song, I wanted to let you know that we actually have another lesson on two songs from the Nutcracker. It covers the March and Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. So if you want to check that out, you can do so by clicking this link. I'll also link it in the description box below. So let's talk a little bit about Waltz of the Flowers. Now, I got a chance to play through this entire arrangement. I've got to say, first off, it is a ton of fun. But secondly, I think this arrangement is going to be perfect for the advanced player. And the reason why is because what's required of our left hand? There is times where this arrangement really feels Olympic in nature. We've got these melodic runs that go up and down the neck. We have unorthodox chord shapes that we have to fret. And when you couple in the brisk tempo that the piece is played at, it really adds up to become quite an advanced arrangement. So if that's where you're at and you're playing, I think this is going to be a really good challenge for you. But let's go ahead and take a step back now and let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Christopher is going to be teaching you how to play the entire arrangement. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Waltz of the Flowers. And also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Chris to teach you how to play this, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon with Rock Class 101, and today I'm going to walk you through how to play a solo ukulele arrangement of the Waltz of the Flowers from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker suite. Now, they're just two basic melodic themes in this piece, but those two themes are going to force us to use just about every single note on the fingerboard. So let's get started. This song is a waltz, which means there are 3 beats in each measure as opposed to our standard 4, and it's in the key of G. We'll be starting on a G major chord. We're going to play what looks like our regular G major chord, but we're going to finger it just a little bit differently. We're going to use a bar for this. We're going to take our first finger, lay it across the 2nd fret of the C, E, and A strings, leaving the G open. The middle finger on the 3rd fret of our E string, giving us our regular G major chord, just put down a little bit differently. What we're going to do in the first measure is just arpeggiate those as quarter notes or 1-beat notes from the C string down to the A string. Then we're going to slide this bar up to the 3rd fret, making this a C minor chord. Well, we could do this with our standard G major shape. It's a lot easier and less motion if we have everything already set up with this bar. Now at the end of the 2nd measure, we're going to be coming back to that G major chord with the bar and playing the B on the 2nd fret of our A string, just at the last 16th note. You can almost think of this as a grace note or just a fast passing note to get to the next measure. We don't want to think too hard about how we subdivide this rhythm as the tune really goes by sort of fast. So the first few measures sound like this. Then we just hit our G major chord, let it ring out for 2 full measures, and don't do anything. We're going to start exactly the same in the next little bit with our arpeggiated G major chord. Instead of going to a C minor this time, we're going to go to a C minor 6th, which means that we're going to add an A to that C minor we already played. And we're going to do that on the 2nd fret of our G string. Now I'm going to do this as a double bar, keeping that first finger bar and extending it across the 2nd fret and then laying down the 2nd finger on the C, E, and A strings. There's our C minor 6th chord. You could also do this with your ring finger if you wanted. You could potentially do it with all individual fingers, but it's going to make the next little section a bit harder to play. So I recommend trying to do this with a double bar, regardless of which finger you use. And then we're going to come down. If we already have this first finger bar across, that B on the 2nd fret of our A string is already there for us. And then we're just going to pluck the G string on the last 8th note. Let me play so you can hear the rhythm of this 2nd measure. And then we're going to come up and we're going to hit with our pinky the 5th fret of our A string. That's a D. leaving this bar down the whole time and moving that middle finger back on over to the 3rd fret of our E string. And we're going to pluck that note, resolving. We can think of this as sort of a G add 9 chord that we're in at this point, really just a G major chord with this nice A added to it. Now let's listen to those few measures. Before we move on to the next lick, let's just try those first 8 measures of the tune together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this is where the fun really starts with the single note lines. We're going to be starting on beat 2 of this last measure, getting us into the next phrase. Start with your first finger on the 2nd fret of the C string. Hammer onto the 4th fret with your ring finger or pinky. It doesn't matter too much. And then we're going to do a little campanella run here. We're going to play the F sharp on the 2nd fret of our E string, and then up to the G, resolving to this G sharp here. So let's just listen to this. It comes on beat 2. So I'm going to count 3 beats and 1 extra one as a pickup. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 1. Let's try that together. Just those few notes. 1, 2, 3, 1. Up to that G sharp. And then we want to get our first finger over to the 2nd fret of the A string to this B. And we're going to go back and forth between the E string and A string. And then go up to an A on the 5th fret of our E string. Use your pinky for this. I like to just slide my ring finger up. I think it's a little bit easier. So let's listen to that first little melodic phrase. Then we repeat the same rhythm, starting on beat 2 again, but now we're starting on F natural, and we're going to do that on the 5th fret of our C string. So we want to set our hand up like this with the 5th fret of the C string, open G for us high G players, G sharp on the 4th fret, and then open A. And then we're going to really do the same thing we did down here, but slide it on up to the 7th fret. And then resolve, the last note is going to be the C on the 5th fret of our G string. I use my middle finger for this. You could also reach the first finger around and do it like this. Whatever's comfortable for you fingering wise. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So let's listen to that second melodic phrase. And now those two together. 1, 2, 3, 1. And then we're going to have this little pickup, and this is where things get real fun. Open A. This B on the 7th fret's already down, right? We end up in this shape here. We're going to go A, B on the 7th fret of our E string, C on the 5th fret of our G string, and then the 5th fret D on our A string. You can also do this as a bar, like this. Again, whatever works for you. And then we're coming to a D sharp diminished chord, which looks like a G7th chord. Just slid on up to your 6th fret. And we're going to hit that. And then we're going to use our pinky to grab all these notes up top. And let's just look at this nice and slowly together. It's going to be D sharp diminished, 9, 7, 6, which is already down. We want to keep this chord down. And then back up. Let's listen to that D sharp diminished bar again. Walking down and up. Try that with me. Just the D sharp diminished bar. 1, 2, 3. We're going to go up to this A minor 7th here. We're going to slide that pinky all the way up to the 12th fret, bar across the 7th fret, and use the middle finger on the 8th fret of the E string. It's going to look like that, just like our G major chord we did down here, but slid on up. With that pinky up top. And again, we want to keep this chord shape down the whole time, even though it's not going to ring out in this register of the instrument. Having it down is going to have those last two notes already there for us. And then we're sliding down to this F diminished chord, which will bar across the 2nd fret because we're going to need that note in a minute on the G string. And it's going to be the 5th fret of our C string, 4th fret of our E string, bar. That's our chord, and we're going to strum just the C, E, and A strings at first, and then pluck the A. So let's listen to that from the A minor 7th. F sharp diminished. And let's listen to that with the lead up into the D sharp diminished 7th chord, and then we'll try all these single note lines together. So let's try that much together, and then we'll get the pickup notes to the next section. 1, 2, 3, 1. Before we get into the variation on that first melody, we're going to do just a little pickup measure, bringing us into that second theme. And we're going to do a series of slides and pull-offs to make this happen. It'll sound like this. And then we're right back to that G major chord. So we'll be starting on the 4th fret of our E string and sliding to the 3rd fret. And then pull off onto the 2nd fret. It's going to be quiet, and that's okay. And then 4th fret of the C string, sliding into the 3rd fret. And that's going to slide us right into that bar chord G that we played before. This is going to come in on the end of 1. So let me count this in so you can hear where it is. 1, 2, 3, 1. Let's try that pickup together. So again, it's coming on the end of 1, the second half of the first beat. 1, 2, 3, 1. And this little section should seem familiar. It's the same as our beginning, right? And then we go to that C minor 6th chord. Same lick. But this time we're going to change something. We're going to use the open G string up to set us for that next little section. So we have this new variation on that same theme. We're going to have a different single note line coming. But first, let's try that pickup with those first 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 1. Now rhythmically, we're doing very similar to what we did in the A section. We're starting on beat 2 and playing 8th notes. We're just playing different notes this time. We're going to start on the 3rd fret of our E string, which is a G, and come up to the open A. Slide on up to the 7th fret of your E string, and then the rest is going to be on the A string. 4, 5, 7, 4, 7. So let's listen to that very slowly. And again, it comes in on beat 2. So I'll give you 3 and 2 just so you can hear where this all comes. It's all single notes. 1, 2, 3, 1. Then we're going to come on down to a D major chord. We're just leaving out the G string. It's going to be 6, 5, 5. The big old D major triad. Let's listen to that first little line. And then we're going to stay right here. We're going to grab the C on the 8th fret of our E string and walk on up. Up the A string, 4, 5, 7. When you grab this 7, try to do it with your ring finger so that you can then shift it up to the 9th fret, 10th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, and then this D7th chord. Looks like our G7th, right? Slid on up, another of those diminished triads. So again, starting on beat 2, let's listen to the second little lick. 1, 2, 3, 1. Now let's listen to the first of those 2 licks together. 1, 2, 3, 1. And now we have a long little riff to get us into the different part of melody, or really the B section of the tune, although it's our third section of the tune, our C section. It's really the B melodic content here. And this is going to be a long run, but it's all individual notes. It's not so bad. It's a matter of really just getting it in your ears and under your fingers. And this will take a little bit of time to drill this, to get this where it needs to be. So we'll be starting on the 5th fret of our C string on the F. We go up to F sharp, 6th fret, and then we're going to go on the E string, 4, 6, 7. So here's our first few notes. Up to the 4th fret, that's C sharp, 5, and then 6 on the E string, and then 4, 7 between the A string and the E string. We're actually going to go back and forth between this a couple times. So listen to that first little bit. Listening is the best way to learn these. Just watch my fingers as we go. Try that much together. And again, coming in on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 1. The next measure, we're just going to be hanging out on that 5, 7, and then 5, 6, bringing us to here, to the B. Let's listen to those last couple measures. And then we have this little hammer-on lick. Much as we did to get into this section, we're going to hammer on to get out of this. So after we hit this B, we're going to hammer on 2, 4 on the C string, 2, 3 on the E string, and then A. Open A. So this is a long lick. Let me play the whole thing for you, and then we'll try this back half of the second melody section together. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1. All right, let's try that last bit of melody together. 1, 2, 3, 1. For the second little bit, we have a brand new melody, and we're going to be playing chords as an accompaniment as we do this. So what I want to do is just play the first 8 measures of the melody for you so you can get it in your ear. It's likely one you've heard before, but we want to make sure that we're bringing the chords back, and thus we need to really know what the melody sounds like. It sounds like this. Heard that before, right? So we're going to just pluck notes on beats 1 and 3 and strum a chord on beat 2 for most of these measures. We're going to start out our G major chord, again with the bar. We're going to pluck the A string, strum, lift up the middle finger, pluck the E string. All right, so our first measure. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our pinky down the 5th fret of the E string while sliding the first finger over to get us a full bar. And that's going to be a B minor 7th chord. Pluck the E string, strum, put the ring finger down on the 4th fret of the C string and E, and then come on down with the middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. This is giving us an A minor 7th chord here, and then open C on the end of that measure. It seems like a lot going on, but really just get these chord voicings under your finger. And just pluck the right string and you're good to go. These are probably new chords for most of you, so it might take a little bit, but if you have those chord shapes down, it's not too tough. So let's hear what those first 3 measures sound like. And now let's look at that triplet lick on the end. So we're going to go from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret of our E string, hammer on, pull off. I like to do this with my 1st and 2nd finger and then slide it back for 1, 2. Even slide back, whatever's comfortable for you. And rhythmically, this is an 8th note triplet. So you have 1, 2, 3, triplet 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 2, 3. So let's listen to that whole first line of this together. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the second line. Rhythms are exactly the same in this little section, but we're just starting on a C major chord, so changing things up a little bit. We're going to play a C major chord, but pluck the A string, strum, open G, and then down to D6 or D13, where we have just straight across the 2nd fret, much like a B minor 7th. Not much different here. Pluck the A string, pluck the E string. So those first 2 measures. Those G add 9 is probably going to be a new one for you. It's 4, 2, 3, open. We need that open A. We still want to have this 3rd. We want that B in there. So I'm using the ring finger on the 4th fret of my G string, the 1st finger on the 2nd fret of my C string, and the middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. Very nice little voicing. And we're going to pluck just the A string, strum, C string, and then we have another triplet lick, but we're moving it up. So it's going to be 3, 5, 3, and then 2, 3. Let's listen to that second line here. All right, let's try those first 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The next line should look pretty familiar to us. This is the same exact thing as the first line. We're redoing that main theme. And our triplet. Okay. And then things change. We're going to go C minor barred with the 1st finger. We're going to pluck the A string, pluck the E string, and then we're going to go up to a C augmented. We're ignoring the G string for all of this. 4, 4, 3. Pluck the A string and strum. Pluck the E string. So what we're doing is this chromatic walk here. And we're going to take this shape and make an F major chord, just sliding these fingers up. Let me play these 3 for you, because there's a repeated picking pattern with the right hand. And we're just doing this with the left hand. And then we're going to come to a D major chord, 2, 2, 2, 5. Let's listen to that one more time. Try that together, just the first ending. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to keep this D down as we do these hammer-ons to get us back to the top of the 2nd section. So we're going to hit the D. See those hammer-ons again? So C string to the 4th fret, pluck the E string, 3, 5. And then we're right back to the top of the form. So let's listen to just that last measure. Then we're going to try this whole little section together. You see, we're already there for our G major chord as long as we're using it with a bar. So let's try the first time through with the first ending for this section. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we'll repeat back to the beginning of the C section of the tune and then skip on over to the second ending this time. We're going to be starting on an F major 9. So we're not going to play the G string. It's going to be the 5th fret of our C string, the 3rd fret of our E string, and the 7th fret of our A string. We're going to play that twice, 2 down strums, and then the ring finger on the 5th fret on the D on our A string. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to slide this first finger up, making an A flat, and this is going to give us an F minor major 7. So listen to those 2 bars. we're going to slide up to the D7th, much like we did before with that D sharp 7th. Same exact thing, just that G7th triad kind of brought up that diminished chord right here, giving us a D7th. And then we have my favorite single note lick in the entire piece. Listen to this. Getting us back to that main theme. So what's happening here? We're going right up the A string at first. Open, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy enough so far. But then we're going to do this campanella run down. Coming and playing the C on the 5th fret of our G string, open A. Then the 6th fret of our C string, open E. E flat on the 3rd fret of our C string. So I just play it from here, from the last measure. We're back into it. So here's our whole lick, nice and slow. And we're back to the top. All right, so let's listen to the second ending, and then we'll try it together. Sound like this. And we're gonna land right back on that G major chord. So let's just try the second ending together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. After this, we go back to the top of the tune and we play straight through to measure 14 until we get to the coda. So this is after that really fast lick where we have that little lick right there, but we're going to resolve it differently. Instead of coming down to that F sharp diminished chord as we did before, come down to an A9. Open 1, open 2, strum it twice. Hawaiian D7th, and then G5. Just a G chord without a B in it. It's not major, it's not minor, it's a power chord. It's G's and D's. So listen to those first two measures. You can see I'm just muting the A string here. You can also put down an entire G chord, just not put pressure down on the A string. And then we're gonna rest. We wanna make sure that there is a rest here, that there's space. Back to our Hawaiian D7th. And then G major, rest. D7th, 2, 2, 2, 3, our bar chord D7th. And then another G5. Open, 2, 3, 5. All G's and D's. Just those first few measures. I want you to pay close attention to where I'm not playing. The rests are just as important as everything else in this. I'm going to do that D7 up here. And then hit a big old G chord, 7, 7, 7, 10. Rest, rest, G5. Let's try that coda together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I hope you all have enjoyed this little lesson. There are many unique challenges in this piece, and some of these runs might seem nearly impossible at first, but if you take the time to just work out the fingerings that you need to do it and practice those shapes that you need to get around the single note lines, you'll be playing this in no time. In the end, it's really a 4-chord song.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun. This is one of those pieces of music that I feel like it just brings a smile to everybody's face when they hear it. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off, keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Waltz of the Flowers, and don't forget on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.